weather.
61.
In West Sacramento, it's 61 degrees and partly cloudy.
How'd you know?
Tonight, the forecast is for
So I'm
a high
really
of
smart.
62 and a low of 48 and partly cloudy.
Okay. I feel justified in my freezing right now. Because 61 is cold.
Pat and Tom talking for 3 minutes. And
And when they do talk, it's like...
the caller talks for 2 of those 3 minutes.
And then the hosts are like, wow, that's crazy. Like, zero substance.
Yeah.
Like, I could say that at our dinner table, and I am right now.
Yeah. Well, they exist to read ad copy for air conditioners and roofers.
Show up at events, I guess.
Yeah.
Be the face of the company.
Yeah. I mean, they suck, but at least they're local and present instead of a syndicated show from Chicago.
Oh, okay. What if that syndicated show is very entertaining?
But you want local.
Why?
That's the one thing, because radio is local. If you put something on YouTube, it's on YouTube, and it can go to Indonesia in 2 seconds, but it's not local to Sacramento, and that's something that's unique to radio that radio can still do and should be doubling down on.
Yeah, it is, but like, yeah, there's definitely something to be said for having a local show that can connect with the people, even like within a 50-mile radius of wherever they're located.
Yeah.
But you've got to give us some substance. You've got to give us something worth listening to.
Well,
it's not enough just to be local.
You listen to Pat and Tom. Pat and...
I try to, yes.
But you listened to them a few decades ago.
Oh, I did. No, not a few. I'm not that old, honey.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I listened to them about 15 to 20 years ago. That's
a few decades.
No, a few decades is 30 years ago.
Okay.
I listened to them when I was
so
like...
would 20 be a couple decades?
Yes. There you go.
And a few is 3 plus.
Correct.
Alrighty. So almost a couple decades ago, you listened to them and they were more substantive, right?
I listened to them in the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. And I remember them talking a lot more, longer segments, being more interesting. I could be wrong because it's been a while, but that was like my go-to morning program. Yeah. Well, that and Rob, Arnie, and Don, I would go back and forth between. Yeah. But there was substance. There was more there. Yeah. It was interesting. It was conversation. It was topical, I felt. And
so currently you listen from 7:30 to 8. That's your commute to work.
That's my commute time.
And you only hear music on their station, which is KNCI 105.1. Yep. New country, or is it hot country, or is it country?
I don't even know.
Redneck country.
Interestingly,
MAGA country. I don't know.
I still go back and forth between Rob and Don and KNCI, Pat and Tom. Yeah. But every time we give KNCI a chance, they're playing music. Yeah. And every once in a while, they'll talk for like 30 seconds. Yeah. And it's like, Pat will say something, and then Cody's like, oh, wow, that's crazy. I'm just like, okay, and then a song starts.
No way. OMG. Well, so your commute is 7:30 to 8, and you were like, I only hear music. And I said, well, I'm going to listen because that can't be possible. And my commute is 7 to 7:30-ish. So I tuned in, and I took note because as a man formerly of the broadcast industry, I listened intently, and they talked twice. First at about 7:10, second at about 7:25-ish. But each segment was about 2.5 minutes long, and the caller they were talking to took up about half that time. So Sacramento teachers on strike, and that's how they kind of got into the bit. Sacramento teachers on strike, and we're talking to Alvin, who claims to be a teacher. I mean, they didn't say this, but anyone can call in and say
Did they vet him?
Exactly.
Did they check his credentials?
No, because they're morning radio, and who gives a crap? But so they talk to Alvin, and Alvin says, I only like about 20% of my children, my kids, my students. And then they went around the room, which is Pat, Tom, and Cody is their female host. And then it was a round table, and they said, well, were you a disruptive kid, and how did teachers like you? And it was about 2.5 minutes long, each segment, and Alvin took about 1:15 of those 2.5 minutes. And I said, and I reported back to you with my findings, because, again, I'm very interested in this stuff. I'm formerly of the industry, and they have nothing. And if you're resorting to callers who claim to be something, that's really just late. It's lazy. It's lazy. It's boring. It's uncreative. It takes zero effort to say, we're taking calls from teachers. And then Alvin says what he has to say. And then they go around the table and then they respond to Alvin. And then it was literally 4 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes of chatting.
And then you probably get another 15 minutes of songs after that.
Yeah. Tons of songs, tons of music.
In the 7 to 7:30 hour, they are talking more, but barely more.
Right.
So it's just like, what kind of a morning radio show is this?
It's bad. And what I imagine, because as you said, a couple of decades ago, not a few, 15 to 20 years ago, they chatted a lot more. I would imagine that their program director, who's the head of a radio station, said, people listen for the songs. People want to hear music. So STFU, keep the chatter to a minimum.
I remember they did play songs back then, in the day, for sure. But it just seems like they did talk a lot more. Yeah. Otherwise, I don't think I would have been tuning in so often and remember them so fondly.
Yeah.
And Rob and Dawn, for all their faults, at least they're talking the whole hour.
Right.
And it's not always great.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's advertisements and reading emails and playing stupid games. Yeah. But you know what? A lot of their content is engaging and interesting.
Yeah.
And at least they're taking up the time with content.
Right.
And talking and some sort of formatted show.
Anything than music. So
right.
Music is everywhere now. Spotify, iTunes, Pandora. If you want to hear a song, you can hear a song. And one person picking a couple songs, usually referred to as a music director for a radio station, picking a song, because they can only play one song, for thousands or tens of thousands of people, it's completely just, it's no longer relevant. It's antiquated. So music, in my opinion, local radio should not be doubling down on music or playing music or just counting on music. They should be going the personality route, the local route, because that's something that radio beats YouTube and beats TikTok and all this nonsense.
And I think that speaks to Rob and Dawn's success.
Yeah.
I think what really grinds my gears is if you're going to tout your station as having this morning radio show with these 3 great personalities, then do something with it, because really what you've got right now is some glorified DJs.
Yeah.
So that just kind of irks me.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to have a morning show and with a little bit of talking, like, go full on. Do like 10%, 15% music.
Yeah.
And the rest talking and some sort of segments and conversation. They could talk so much about the industry and the artists.
Yeah.
So it just kind of bothers me.
And their lives. And we went to their website, KNCI's website, because this was a deep dive, and their website is pathetic. But because of the internet, I would think Pat and Tom could. So their music director or program director, whatever, would be like, dude, you can talk twice an hour for 2 minutes. Okay, but there's the internet, and Pat and Tom and Cody could blah, 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 like what we're doing right now, and put it on the website, and it would get
so
listens.
a little, like a podcast thing.
Something, anything extra, but we were at the website. It was like, even some of the graphics. Remember the graphics? Yes. Like it would say rodeo, but just it would be incorrectly formatted, so it would just say ODO or whatever. Like they don't even take time to look, make sure their website looks professional and on point. Yeah, well, Rob is super successful. He's a workaholic. He's big time.
He is, and he's like,
and he's really good.
Yeah, props.
He's really
props
good.
Where they are due. He
Yeah.
is great at what he does.
Yeah.
He's smart. He's savvy. He's got the talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's navigated it
Yeah.
for this long.
Yeah. And you like his current staff. I'm not a fan of his current staff, I think.
Well, I just think him and Dawn are so solid.
Yeah.
And then I think they have 3 supporting cast members right now.
Yeah.
Who I think they're good. They add to it.
To me 5 people chiming in on topics is too much. But yeah, I think Dawn, and I know people complain about her cackle, but I
love her cackle.
I like it.
I mean,
I dig it.
Part of her charm is her annoyance. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, she's cringe.
Yeah.
But she's like lovable at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's something, again, comparing these two, I often see like every once in a while KNCI will win like some award, like top radio.
Yes.
And then they go on Twitter and their social media about it. And I'm like, for what? For playing the top country hits?
That is the biggest fake BS award. I know.
In comparison, Rob, one time he did a full segment about how he met with this big wig in their radio industry who he reports to, and he came back and he reported their numbers for the quarter or the year or whatever, and they were glowing. And so he went on and on talking about how great it was. Yeah. And I was like, okay, this is earned. Yeah. Like, it's fine for you to be self-congratulatory because you earn it. And I can see why. Yeah. But like this station that does just primarily music, why are you touting yourselves?
Well, the whatever that award is, the Radio Station of the Year award, is awarded by the music industry, the country music industry. So if you interview our artists, which I'm not dying to hear a Trace Adkins interview, but whatever, or Randy Travis, I don't know any current country. The guy Morgan Waller, who said the N-word or whatever. Oh dear. If you're dying to hear a 6-minute interview with him, because that's how long a segment is on broadcast radio, because they need to play ads, which is what this is all about. Well, it's put on by country music, which they I don't know how they determine that KNCI is better than the Las Vegas country.
Aren't all of these stations just simply playing the top 100
exactly
like hits of the current? So
exactly the same.
What is this?
It's cookie cutter. I don't know. It must be something going on behind the scenes, or it's a bunch of nonsense. But honey, you asked me earlier. Can you ask me the question? What was my top 3?
And so this got me thinking, because we were being critical of other shows.
Yes.
And back in what I feel was Armstrong and Getty's like heyday. Yeah. Okay, honestly, I was listening to the show back when it was Armstrong and Getty, of course. Mm-hmm. Marshall Phillips, Vince Nicholas, and Sean, whatever. Sean Thomas.
Positive Sean.
Yes. I remember I used to listen. I would listen on my way to work, but it was only like a 20-minute drive. So then throughout the day, I would listen to the full 4-hour podcast. And I remember listening like during some time, and I thought, this is the best this show will ever be. Like, this team right here is magic. This is great. This is like the best. And I remember having a thought like, I don't know how long this is going to last, because I know how radio turns over people so quickly. But I was like, this is great right here. So anyway, it got me thinking, because we've been talking about other morning radio shows and being sort of critical.
A little.
But it made me think.
By the past 15 minutes, yes.
I was so, I loved when you were on the air on that show you were on. Yeah. But I was wondering, when you were on that show, was there anything that you thought, this is bad, this is not working, I hate this? We should not be doing this.
Yeah. Well, it all comes down to opinion. It's very subjective.
All entertainment is subjective.
All entertainment is subjective. But in my personal opinion, the segments I just thought were Well, it's like Rob, Arnie, rest in power. Okay, he's not dead.
Oh, God.
Rob and Don doing Trouble. Movie Master.
We have some stuff you could say is filler.
Wake Up Call doing Smarter Than Katie, which is...
We haven't even touched on Katie and... What's his name?
Gavin. They talk a lot more than Pat and Tom.
But it's unlistenable.
It's nonsense. It's complete filler.
It's grating on my nerves. I can't even I'm sorry.
But I did not like, in my opinion, I didn't like Mailbag, which is the second segment of the first hour, 6 a.m. hour. And this is my beef with all, because other radio shows do this.
Sure.
Rob, Arnie, and Don.
Rob and Don do
Rob.
This a lot. Yeah.
My Dr. Rob. So the premise is people email with a problem and then Dr. Rob solves it. But it's like, my roommate is a lesbian and we hooked up and I don't know what to do now. At Mailbag is feedback, listener feedback. But my problem is turning over an entire show to an email. There's no follow-up. There's no adding. If you have a question, it's an email. It's a piece of paper that you printed out. So you can't be like, well, what did you mean by this?
Right.
What did you mean by that?
It's a one-sided conversation.
And if there's disagreement there's no debate. You're just disagreeing with a piece of paper. So I never understand. I can't stand current podcasts and radio shows that read emails. An email, any feedback should be a couple sentences. And then that's the content that you use to further your own show, to jump off from. Like, oh, here's an idea and let's go this way instead of, oh, this person has an email. And side note, if you read emails on your podcast or show, you don't need, you edit it down. Like, you don't need, hey, I've been listening for 18 years ever since I moved to Reno and you're my friend.
They have to throw in that self-promotion.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
Okay.
Just get to the idea, and that's why the text line, which was my idea from the beginning.
Ooh.
Actually, I registered that phone number, whatever it is, 415 blah 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 KFTC. I registered that Google Voice phone number by myself as a lark, and I was like, oh, this might be funny, this might work, this might be fun. Yeah. And they continued to use it, and I should be paid trademark or licensing properties.
You should be getting royalties.
I should be getting royalties.
I wonder if they still use that.
They do.
Oh, okay.
I mean, as far as I know. I don't listen because too uncomfortable.
And I don't listen out of solidarity.
Yes.
And loyalty to you, my love.
Thank you. But yeah, just reading emails and turning your entire show over to an email, to a dead piece of paper. And Harold Ramis, who played Egon in Ghostbusters, he infamously said, "Print is dead." Okay.
He said that back in the 80s.
Yeah. Because
he was ahead of his time.
Janine said, "Do you read?" She was like, "Oh, I'm digging Harold Ramis's vibe."
Was that her flirting?
Yeah. And she was like, "Oh, do you read? What do you read? Do you like books?" And he simply responded with, "Print is dead." So when you turn your radio show over to a piece of paper, it's boring. It's not compelling. It's easy content.
You gotta fill some time.
Right.
It's hard to fill 4 hours of time.
We don't read emails on this program, honey.
And we are the gold standard of broadcast, are we not?
We are. The next thing I didn't like were interviews. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
There might be one good interview, every few months. But to get to that one good interview, you have to battle your way through 38 middling interviews that are just, well, it's you need to produce 2.5 hours of content a day. There isn't 2.5 hours of content per day, or good content, or spellbinding, scintillating content. You need to do something. So you book the warmonger, Major Mike Lyons.
Honey.
Mike Lyons exists purely to do radio show interviews. Like that's his job. He sits wherever he sits in a small room, I think, because he needs privacy to be a warmonger. Oh my God. But that's his job, and it's contracted with KST, iHeartRadio Sacramento, that he's at the beck and call. So if you want to talk to Mike Lyons about Ukraine/Russia, all you need to do is call a number. Mike Lyons, we need him at 7:47. Good, booked, and that's
was that your job?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Sean's job.
Like, hey, dude.
But I've done it before. But you talk to a booker, and Mike Lyons is solid. Sometimes they would, a reporter would be in Ukraine, and it was touch and go. Like, oh, we don't know if we're gonna have him on the phone for 7:47.
Right. Time difference and all that.
Yeah, but Mike Lyons, part of the far right. Who he's pro-military because he's a major. He's ready to go. He's ready and willing, and that's his job, and it's contracted. And like his interviews and most book interviews, authors.
Oh yeah.
Just they're boring. Like, no one cares about their book. No one's going to buy their book. No one's going to read their book.
I did.
But how many?
One.
Of the 900.
There was
exactly.
one interview that urged me to go get that book from the library.
Yes.
And I won't say which.
You won't?
Well, I will.
Can you remember?
Yeah, it was the Hillbilly Elegy by J.D. Vance. I heard the interview, and then I checked out the book from my local library.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
But then they made the video. They made a YouTube. They made a
movie?
Something. Yeah, on Netflix, and you didn't want to watch it.
No. Yeah. No, I because it was like a semi-autobiographical account, and I was not interested in seeing like a fictionalized version of it.
Yeah.
I thought those interviews were. I think I was okay with them more than you were, but
yeah. Well. It's the majority of the. Again, you have to go through 38 interviews to get to one decent interview.
Yes, and that's true.
It wasn't worth it, and they're a pain in the ass to book. Like Charles Krauthammer. Okay, he's a busy man, and he didn't have time for a Sacramento morning radio show, so it would just be a pain in the ass to book him, and sometimes he'd be late because whatever. But I thought the majority, and I would put Gary Dietrich on.
I know that name, but I don't know who that is.
He's a political analyst in Sacramento, but he pundits on like CBS 13 and KFBK. That's what he did. Like he would do KFBK, which is the news talk radio station in Sacramento, and he would be in the hallway, and we could grab him to be on Armstrong Getty.
So you worked there in the building where you were?
Yeah. Okay. or he was there. He would show up to do KFBK.
Okay, so you could corner him,
right,
and be like, "Get in our office right now.
Right.
Get on the show."
He preferred. Well, I mean, I don't want to speak for the man, but it seemed like he enjoyed A&G because A&G is looser and goofier than the boring, classically news talk radio station. Uh-huh. I actually didn't mind Gary Dietrich. I thought he was good, and he brought fervor, and he wasn't boring. But the other one I wanted to mention was Craig the Obamacare lawyer. Snooze! I mean, he would come on And you'd be like, okay, Obamacare sucks. Thanks for 8 minutes of that. And we'll talk to you in a few weeks for another 8 minutes of how Obama... Who cares? Whatever. Can we move on? And I'll drop this tidbit, honey. One of the hosts was not a fan of his.
Oh, shoot.
Okay, I'll just say that. And I think most people will be able to guess which host was not a fan of his. But, Craig Gottwals, who's a nice guy. But as far as what he brought to the show...
You know, who's those people? It was like a married couple. Sander something? Sandifer?
Yeah. Oh, Tim Sandifer.
How did you feel about their interviews? Okay. Or was it only ever him? I remember they mentioned his wife.
Yeah. Okay, first of all, I discovered Tim Sandifer.
Oh, you did? Okay.
He would call in when I was screening, and he would go on, and I'd be like, okay, I'll put you on. You got something to say.
Okay, Tim.
You got hot takes. But then he called in so much and he's very well spoken and fun and could roll with it. So he got elevated to becoming Tim the lawyer or whatever.
Oh, right.
And I thought he was excellent.
So you enjoyed his interviews?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when he would come in, because another thing is that in person is so much better than someone on the phone, someone on Skype, someone on Zoom.
We've all learned that over the last couple of years, having to do Zoom meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
In person is so much better in every way.
Yeah. And like a lot of podcasts are doing Zoom interviews.
Yeah.
And it sounds like shit.
It sounds terrible. And you can just feel the connection more with in-person interviews.
Yeah.
And as a listener, you appreciate that and you feel it, and it totally adds to the overall enjoyment and quality of the show.
Yeah. And sometimes the sound quality can suck. Like, I was listening to my podcast friend, Adam Carolla, and he was interviewing Jim Belushi. And Jim Belushi is somewhere in Washington. He lives up there now. Okay, whatever. But Adam Carolla was in a nice, fancy studio. And when he would ask a question, Jim Belushi on Zoom, on some questionable internet in the mountains of Washington, it sounded like he was in a bathroom or a shower, and
maybe he was.
Right, exactly.
He's like, the acoustics are good in here.
And it just takes away from the audio experience.
Yeah.
In person is always better.
And I guess that's not always... I mean, you have to be somewhat local to pull that off. But when you can, it's definitely preferable.
Yeah. And there are rumors on the internets that Joe Getty is remote.
Oh.
Now. Either in Rockland or South Carolina. I don't know. But because I see things, I'm still in various Facebook groups that Jack will notice something in studio and Joe won't know what's going on. So that takes away from the zest.
Yeah.
Tim Sandifer's wife is Christina Sandifer. I think she's great too. Well spoken, can roll with the punches, and is entertaining. In the end, it's all about entertainment.
Yeah. So I guess when it comes to interviews, it totally depends on the guest.
Yeah. You got to bring it. My podcast friend Adam Carolla, recently he had two athletes on, Charles Oakley and Michael Irvin. I'm guessing a lot of people know Michael Irvin. He was a wide receiver for the Cowboys, 90s. Charles Oakley played for the New York Knicks in also the 90s. Charles Oakley, boring. And he had some stories. He's lived a life. I mean, he played for the Knicks in Manhattan, and he's hung out with some people, hung out with Jordan and whatever, but he was just very calm like this. And he's a chef now, and he cooked for Michael Jordan in his condo, and it was very exciting. But Michael Irvin, who is still on TV, he knows how to bring it. And Michael Irvin was right before the Super Bowl, and I forget the quarterback's name, whichever one for the Bengals. Is that who's Browns? It doesn't matter. Say you're a quarterback. Michael Irvin knows what it takes to be entertaining, and he was like, Carolyn Nicholas got some stank on her hang low, okay? She is the best quarterback. And he was just at a different energy level. Charles Oakley was not at that level. And it was like, wow, you really see the difference in guests. And straight up, most guests suck. It fills time. Yeah. It's easy. It's boring.
And when it comes to politics, news, I mean, that can be really dry material.
Yeah.
So you've really got to like infuse some unnecessary, loud personality.
Yeah. Well, if you're doing facts and real reporting and straight news, it shouldn't be exciting.
But then it's not interesting or entertaining.
If you're doing traditional... sorry, Liz Fisher! If you're doing traditional reporting, unbiased, you're like, these are the facts, and that's what I'm delivering. But if you're trying to be entertaining, which is what morning radio is or should be, you got to have some zest. You got to have some personality. You got to have some enthusiasm. You got to bring it. And so, yeah. The next thing that I didn't like, I can't believe this has turned into something, is, and all right-wing media is guilty of this. Chris Matthews, who doesn't have a TV show anymore, but this was happening when I was in the industry, as it were. Chris Matthews said something liberal or outrageous, and now it would be Joy Reid or Whoopi Goldberg or Anderson Cooper or Jake Tapper. Insert cable news personality here says something liberal and outrageous. Oh my God, I can't believe they would say this.
This is what the liberals want.
Yeah.
And it's like some crazy out there person saying some one unhinged opinion.
This is mainstream media. This is NBC News for you. And it was like, I'd always be like, well, early on, I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is shocking. And then as I got years and years went on, I was like, who gives a shit, dude?
You realize it's one really out there opinion that shouldn't be getting any attention.
And doesn't get any attention. Because if you look at the ratings of MSNBC and CNN, paltry. I will say no one watches those network cable news channels. The addendum is that, okay, people watch them, but they're not intently watching. Like, no one is sitting there waiting for the next Jake Tapper segment. No one cares what Al Sharpton has to say. Like, oh, what's he going to say? It's background noise. Mm-hmm. And it's for other mainstream media. And finally, it's for right-wing media to be like, oh, look at this. Mm-hmm. Look at what Rachel Maddow. Well, look at what Rachel Maddow's saying.
They got to whip up their audience.
She's so liberal. Right. I will. One of the hosts I used to work for, he used to say over and over, we're just feeding red meat to the lions.
Ooh, think about it.
Just day in and day out.
Look in the mirror and think about that.
We're just feeding red meat. The listeners know what they want to hear. The audience is there. They're hungry, and you just give them what they want. Does it matter? No. Is it important? No. Yeah. But Chris Hayes on MSNBC said this. No one cares. It will. He can say whatever he wants, and it will go into the ether, and no one will care. But right, and Adam Carolla does this too. Right wing media does this too. They're like, oh my gosh, look! And then it comes back to Joy Reid or Chris Hayes and say, look at Tucker Carlson's being mean to me. And it's just, it goes back and forth, and it's just all dumb. Yeah. Yes, honey, sorry.
No.
Oh.
It's just all stupid.
It's all stupid. None of it matters. It's easy content to find Chris Matthews saying something outrageous. And who gives a shit? In the end, it doesn't matter.
In the end, we got to fill some time on the air.
Right.
And I understand that.
Yeah. In the end, most people, CNN's ratings are from televisions in the airport.
And like old widows who just have it on for some background noise while they're drinking their tea. Or whatever old ladies do.
Right.
Just like how you and I, like, okay, honest here. You and I have Good Day Sacramento on in the background on our weekends.
Yes.
And we both hate it. Yes. It's terrible. Yes. But we just put it on, the TV in the mornings, just for whatever.
Well, we hate them because they didn't hire me. And they fired our neighbor Camby Brown.
They're terrible.
They're bad. So recently they did they do a thing where they want pictures sent in from
on
their
Facebook.
Viewers. Yeah.
Every single day, they're like, show us your socks.
Show us your socks.
Show us... Oh, God. The other day, they were like, show us a picture of your teenager.
Yeah.
And I wish... I wanted to write, no.
Are they
I wish I had... No, I'm not sending you a picture of my teenager.
Was there a target audience? Pedophiles? But the show us your socks thing, and hundreds of responses of people showing Good Day Sacramento their socks. And so I was watching it. So I saw that and we had it on the TV. And I was watching it, and they showed pictures. First of all, pictures of socks on television. Scintillating stuff. What the hell? And they show a few socks here and there. And then they throw Tina Makua throws to Ashley Williams. And for hard news, because I want Ashley Williams to deliver news about COVID.
When she's not standing on top of a giant stuffed high-heeled couch chair. Yeah. In between those shenanigans, she's hitting us with the hard news.
Yeah. So, pictures of socks throwing to Ashley Williams, who does hard news, and her tease was... Okay, we have more pictures of socks coming up. So in Ukraine, and I was like, wow, that's
oh my God.
It's quite the tease, and I want my Ukraine news from Ashley Williams. It's a mess. Well, it exists because it exists. It's completely irrelevant.
I feel like they get good reviews or watches, views.
Ratings?
Yeah, that's the word.
Well, because they're local and there's very little competition on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. And
you're part of the problem, putting it on our TV every weekend.
Well, I sit there in disbelief, like, I can't believe this is television.
One day, I swear to God.
Yes.
One of their Facebook things was, send us a picture of your favorite pillow.
Yeah.
And I was like, I once again, I wanted to say, now you've gone too far.
Well, static images of pillows on the television is spellbinding. Well, it exists because it was something 20, 30 years ago, much like Pat and Tom, honey. And there's a lot of advertising revenue there. And so they need to fill up the space between ads with something. Thus Mike Lyons and Gary Dietrich. Thus pictures of socks on television. Yes. Yes, darling.
Speaking as a woman who had a couple babies in her 20s and therefore was on maternity leave for 4 months.
Mm-hmm. Were you really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And you're up all hours of the day with your babies.
Yeah. You
got to put something on your TV. And I admit,
right,
when I was at home with my babies, I had Good Day Sacramento on the TV all the time. It was it was mindless.
Yeah.
It was kind of comforting.
Yeah.
It was local, as you said.
Yeah.
So
it's very passive. Yeah. It's like people aren't watching The View to what does Whoopi have to say about insert topic here. It's just mindless. It's background noise for the most part, and they want as likable as personalities as possible.
You just
want Tina Makua will never say anything controversial. Yulisa Ortiz. I remember in my 2 weeks they were like, Yulisa, and I was like, there's a J. And I understand.
Aren't you fluent in Spanish?
I am, and I understand that. But I thought for them, like, why not just pronounce it Julissa? Because I imagine most viewers think Julissa. But
no. Okay.
And
oop.
Well, in my 2 weeks there, I realized that they didn't want compelling content. They want easy, boring, lazy, much like Gavin from the Wake Up Call, much like Rob, Arnie, and Don. Okay, some of Rob, Arnie, and Don. Much like Armstrong and Getty. Much like Pat and Tom. They just want anything to put on TV. So you get Big Al Sam's going to a garage sale. Wow, there's dolls here. This is good stuff. So I offered them good. I was like, dude, like one of my ideas was I'm gonna do a training with the Kings, like the Sacramento Kings. Like I'll do a week in their whatever preseason training, preseason basketball. I'll live with them. I'll live in their dorms. I'll go to practice. I'll sweat. I thought that would be such good video, and it will be, and it would be. It would take too much time to produce. It would be, and would the Kings have you? Or would that detract from their training? No. It would have been good. I remember, I remember your application process for Good Day Sacramento. You spent so many hours, like, coming up with ideas. It was like a very thorough application process, and you had to come up with all these different pitches. Yeah. And I thought they were great. Yeah. And they were very unique. They were very you, honey. Yeah. But I guess that didn't jive with their brand. They don't want that. No. They want Big Al Sam's at food festivals, which is, you can't take your eyes off Big Al Sam's going through someone's junk. They want easy, quick, inoffensive content. Yeah. And so, they didn't want me, and they didn't want our girl Campy Brown. Although she was there for whatever, a long time, decade. So our top 3 cereals, honey. Oh, that's what we're doing here. Yeah. Okay. So cereal. Why are we talking about cereal? Breakfast cereal. What does breakfast cereal mean to you in your life, my love? Well, I think this is quite a universal thing. Yes. Cereal is completely, for me, tied to my childhood. Yes. Absolutely, 100%. Tons of nostalgia, fond memories. Yeah. Because we don't eat cereal now. Every once in a while, I'll pick up a box because it's at Dollar Tree, and I'm like, this sounds good, or this may be good. Every once in a while, just on a complete whim, I'll buy a box of cereal, and then it sits in the cupboard till it expires. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know why I do that as an adult when, as a child, I ate all the cereal I could. Love cereal. Okay. Notes, ideas, thoughts, hot takes. Milk. We recently, I was always in the whole milk camp, honey, and where our what do I say? Our love diverged. Our torrid love affair. Our torrid love affair diverged. I was always in the whole milk camp, and you always wanted either 1% or 2%. So we would alternate during our weekly grocery shopping excursions from whole milk to 1% or 2%. Yeah. But then recently you have seen the light. You've seen the cow udder, if you will. And you were like, I'm all in on whole milk. I am all in on whole milk because I looked at the label. Yeah. The difference in calories and fat between whole milk and 1% is pretty much the same. It's very minimal, yeah. But 1% milk has a lot more sugar than whole milk. Ah. And that's how they get it to be less fat and less, because they supplement it with sugar. Yeah. And I don't want that. And also nowadays I only use milk to make, I add milk to my coffee, or every once in a while I have hot chocolate. Mm-hmm. I don't consume milk a lot. Yeah, we don't. Actually, the number one consumer is darling daughter Luna Marie, who puts it in her hot cocoa. She makes hot chocolate a lot. You know, I do use milk a lot when I'm making hamburger helper or mac and cheese. Also, for For the kids.
For the kids, yeah. And
because
then
carbs don't matter when you're young.
When you're adding it to noodles like that, you want it to be the whole stuff. You don't want the watery sugar stuff. But growing up, my mom, I think, always bought like 1%. And then as I got older, we switched over to fat-free. And still to this day...
Liz Fisher...
When it comes to cereal, I want fat-free or 1%. Oh. I don't want thick, creamy milk in my cereal. I want it to be more watery.
Really? So even
now, even currently.
Wow. I've always been... So Luna is the number one consumer of milk. And I've always been like, she needs to have the best... Well, whole milk is creamy, it's yummy, it's thick. It's just a better experience product than 2%, 1%. Fat-free is pretty much white water. So I've always, and I consume very little milk. You consume very little milk. So I'm like, well, if Luna's drinking most of the milk, give her the best, because when you're 13, carbs don't matter, calories don't matter. She should enjoy her hot cocoa as much as possible. But recently you've come around. Yeah. After reading the nutrition labels. And so we've become a whole milk vitamin D family.
Yes, we are.
And are we ever going to go back to 1% or 2%?
No.
But with cereal, you still like white water?
I still do prefer it, but you know what? I don't eat cereal anymore, hardly.
Why don't you want whole milk with your cereal?
Because I feel like the cereal shines when it's not overwhelmed.
That's a good point.
And I feel like the creamy milk, like, that is what, like, overpowers it.
I could see that, but to me, the creamy milk complements it and just makes it a better overall experience. Like, you're like, these honey smacks, that's the frog,
Smacks
right?
Is a thing, yeah, the frog guy.
and the milk is so good, and the honey smacks is so good. Like, it just elevates the entire experience. But we're a whole milk family, yes.
Yes, we are. And
Okay. What about the bigger question, honey, which darling daughter Luna Marie asked the other night? Milk or cereal first when you're pouring yourself a bowl?
Obviously, cereal.
Yes.
Does anyone seriously do milk first?
I'm not sure. Well, if you're quote unquote cute, trying to be on track and trying not to eat too much. So my thing is that why I don't eat cereal as an adult is because I will eat an entire box. I can eat an entire box.
It's so easy to overeat.
I can eat several boxes. And so how it works out in my head is that I put in some cereal, I put in some milk, eat the cereal. Oh, there's a quarter cup of milk there. I'll pour in more cereal. Oh, I need more milk to accommodate the cereal. And then I continue. There's another bowl. Oh, there's still a little milk here.
That's never been tempting for me. When I finish my bowl, I just pour the milk down the sink. That's never been something I've struggled with.
That's smart. That makes sense. It's something I've never done. And another thing is that, like, the milk in the bottom of the bowl, it's a little warm now because it's been sitting. Yeah, but... you just keep eating. That's why I stopped, because I can't. I mean, technically I can control myself, but I don't control myself. I eat a box. I eat 2 boxes. Like there's no tomorrow. And so yeah, that's why I've pretty much ceased eating cereal as an adult, because I can't control it. I don't control it, and I end up eating a box or 2 boxes. And when it's whole milk, it's the most calories possible. So I stopped it. The other thing, my problem with cereal is that it's very time sensitive. So much like nachos, much like ice cream, you lay out. So with nachos, you lay out some chips. You start throwing on some tomatoes on there and some pico de gallo and some nacho cheese. Right away, you're under the gun. You're on the clock.
So much moisture.
It's gonna get soggy ASAP. So you got to start. Ice cream too. Like you scoop some ice cream out, it starts melting instantly. So you can't just be lazy about it or enjoy it like a bag of potato chips or whatever.
There are some cereals that get Even better with like slight moisturization.
Yes.
But a lot of them, you're under the gun for sure.
But even with the slight moisturization.
Luna's here.
Hi.
Tell us about your favorite cereal.
I like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And
I will agree with you that some cereals in milk for a little bit, like it gets better. Mm-hmm. But again, that's a very finite window, and it can go from better to worse very quickly. So you need to wolf it down.
Yeah. It's a very precarious eating situation.
Yeah. So that's eating too much, time sensitive. That's why I've kind of taken the back seat with cereal as an adult. What about hot cereal, honey?
Oh my God.
What's your thoughts, feelings, comments, reflections?
I love hot cereals. You're talking porridge. You're talking oatmeal.
Yeah.
Cream of wheat. Mm-hmm. These are all excellent meal choices.
Cream of wheat.
I love cream of wheat.
Yeah. Currently, usually on a Saturday or Sunday morning when I'm still on track on some level, I eat an oatmeal called Better Oats, which I found out about from my favorite Fitspo influencer, Hannah Duke Keller. But it's 100 calories. It's a little sweet, not too sweet, and it's got some flaxseed in there. But I really enjoy that. I throw some almonds in there because almonds are good for semen.
Wait, what?
I heard that on the internet.
Is that why you eat almonds?
Yes.
Wait, almonds or walnuts?
What?
Almonds or walnuts?
Oh, walnuts. Damn it. Should I start over?
No. Okay. Well, I don't know. Yeah.
Better. Yes or no? I don't. Better Oats with walnuts.
I had no idea that's why you ate walnuts on your oatmeal.
Yeah.
I thought you just liked the crunch.
I do. And I like nuts. But somewhere on the internet it said walnuts were good for your semen. So let's get to our top 3, honey. First, let's start with honorable mentions. Cereals that didn't make our top 3 but have a fun spot in our heart. Go ahead, honey.
Okay, this was so hard.
Yes, it was.
I had like 15 cereals that I had to narrow down by your rigid rules.
Sorry.
You said 3 honorable mentions, 3 top 3.
Yeah, well, we got to get to the Huft Heating and Air commercial, honey. So 6 minute.
We're under the clock.
Yeah, Pat and Tom. We got 2.5 minutes. Let's go.
All right,
go
my
ahead,
honorable
caller.
mentions are number 1, Corn Pops.
Okay.
This is a cereal that gets really good with a teeny bit of moisture.
Yeah.
Like 2 minutes after you pour the milk, and then it's a soggy disaster.
Yeah.
But when you're in that sweet spot, it's so freaking
good. They're low key good, but I wouldn't say they're great. But they're kind of on the same wavelength as Kix, which is like low key sweet.
Yeah.
Lots of crunch. Mm-hmm. Yeah, milk helps, but once it gets soggy, look out. Yes.
My number 2 honorable mention, Captain Crunch, the original.
Oh, yeah.
So freaking good. Yeah. And then the longer it sits, the more, like, your milk in your bowl becomes, like, it becomes more solid.
Yeah.
Because the sugar mixes with the milk.
Yeah.
And then you've got, like, a mulchy sugar milk combination.
Yeah. The Captain Crunch... This actual cereal, are those barrels that they're supposed to be like, or treasure chests?
Oh,
what is the shape?
I've never thought what the shape is supposed to be.
I think it's barrels or treasure chests.
Yeah, I think it must be.
Yeah.
But what a good
alliteration.
No.
Skeuomorphism.
The captain guy.
Illustration. Representation.
Anyway.
Yes. But Captain Crunch, solid cereal. What about the damage they do to your mouth?
Well, that's part of the fun.
Oh, bleeding.
Yes.
Bleeding is part of the fun, Captain Crunch. What about honey? And I'm on CaptainCrunch.com, by the way.
They have their own website?
CAPN, yes. What about the Crunch Berries, the Peanut Butter Crunch?
The only
Mega Berries, chocolate caramel crunch. There's all this nonsense going on. What's your hot takes?
The only other variation I've had is the berries, and it's delicious.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah,
but and this is my thought with all cereals.
Yeah, the
originals is the best because I know a lot of cereals have these offshoots and all these different types, but I always prefer the original.
Yeah. I want to agree with that, but the peanut butter Captain Crunch is fan-freaking-tastic. But yeah, Captain Crunch, if you want to bleed and you want some barrels or treasure chests in your mouth, go at it. Yes.
Mascot. That's the word I was looking for. The Captain Crunch mascot, that little pirate guy.
Yeah.
Isn't he great?
Is he a pirate? I think he's the captain. He's got like that.
Oh, he's a little Captain Crunch. Yeah. Well, maybe he's a pirate captain.
Pirate Crunch. Oh dear. Yes, your next honorable.
Okay,
mention.
my number 3, Lucky Charms.
Yes.
So freaking good.
Yeah.
Did you used to eat these, and did you eat the bran pieces before you ate the marshmallows? Did you save the marshmallows for last?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. So like the first half of the bowl, I would enjoy the combination of eating the two. And then as I was getting towards the second half of my eating experience, I saved all the marshmallows for last.
Yeah.
They're so good. I remember once in a while they would like, for like some promotion, they'd have like a special new marshmallow is introduced.
Right.
And it's like,
a red balloon marshmallow. It's like, okay. I recently bought a bag full of Lucky Charms marshmallows. And initially I was like, oh, because these are for Luna, because she puts marshmallows in her hot cocoa. But then I got at them with some milk, and I was like, this is flipping the bomb. But the grain part, the bran, I'm not a fan of. And I realize there's some good there, like the contrast, but
yeah, the contrast is really good. There used to be a cereal called Alphabets.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
It was all like
it was just those.
Yeah.
And I really liked that.
Yeah.
But the marshmallow part of Lucky Charms is something that really benefits from being in the milk for longer.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And because like the traditional marshmallow is just soft and gooey, but the Lucky Captain Crunch marshmallow or Lucky Charms marshmallow is like crunchy, and so
yes,
a little milk can soften it up, but it's still crunchy. Fantastic. I'll talk more about that later.
Yeah. So those are my 3 honorable mentions. What are your 3 honorable mentions?
I have 4, darling.
You have 4.
First one is Wheaties. So, and I would throw Total, Special K. Excuse me, sorry, Liz Fisher. I would throw Total, Special K, and Corn Flakes in this category, but Wheaties is just it doesn't mess around with marshmallows or wacky shapes or a freaking idiot tiger who points his finger in the air as a mascot of it. It's like whole grain, and there's just something so beautiful and simple and tasty about it.
They are tasty, but did you feel like I have to be a serious athlete to purchase and enjoy these? Like I've got to be running track in my high school.
That was part of the appeal. So I would be sitting there as a 9-year-old young man eating my Wheaties, staring at Michael Jordan's beautiful face on the box. First of all, the box, orange, iconic, like you spot it from a mile away, and then I'd be sitting there staring at Michael Jordan's beautiful smile, and I'd be like, I'm gonna kick some ass at basketball today. I'm gonna kill it on the court because I'm eating Wheaties with Michael Jordan, number 23 on the cover. And but yeah, just getting away from the sugary stuff. I dug that there's a place in my heart for Wheaties. I would throw grape nuts in here, but it's like eating rocks, little pebbles.
They are, but somehow they're not bad.
Right. They're good. And with milk, with enough soaking in milk saturation, they turn into not quite oatmeal, But
honestly, this looks like cat food. This looks like what we feed our cat Frankie. Yeah. These little pellets.
Oh my goodness. Our kibble. Human kibble. Next honorable mention is Life.
I love Life.
Yeah. So the cinnamon, the square, the little pockets.
That breaks down really beautifully in milk.
Yes. Because it has the outer shell, but then it has like a little, like a club, like a McDonald's club or whatever. It has an extra layer in the middle. And you talk about the cinnamon getting in the milk. And let's not forget, Mikey Likes It, the advertising campaign.
Okay, yes.
Not iconic, but...
Totally. A big part of cereals for us, I think for people in general, is what commercials you associate it with as a child.
Absolutely.
Nostalgia in general with advertising is so powerful and
it works,
impactful. Man. Oh my gosh,
it works. That's why Kellogg, that's why General Mills spends billions of dollars or whatever on adverts. Yeah.
We were talking about this topic a couple hours ago before we started this, and both of us were able to instantly recall the mascots, the jingles, the visuals of the commercials. This was huge for kids.
Yeah.
And I wonder if this is something that has kind of ebbed because the kids nowadays don't really watch TV. They watch YouTube and streaming.
Is Tony the Tiger doing does he have a promo code with the Addison Rae, Luna?
They're great. Like, you and I could both, like, quote off all these different jingles and, like, quotes right away. But I that's something that is missing now.
Yeah. Yeah, the shared experience, the collective, just zeitgeist, the conscience. And I think that's no longer. That's
why it was so hard for me to narrow down my top 3 because I had, like, 15 different cereals and I was so, like, emotionally connected. Each one, I could think of the commercial. I could think of, like, the visuals connected with it.
Yeah.
Tricks are for kids.
Yes, that stupid rabbit. Silly rabbit. I would have said stupid rabbit. I call our cat stupid Frankie. Maybe I should start calling him Silly Rabbit. Maybe stupid is too harsh. Next one, Rice Krispies. Just because I remember pouring the milk and snap, crackle, pop. Snap, crackle, pop.
Is there a more fun audio experience than a Rice Krispie?
Like, literally bending your head over and putting your ear to the bowl and be like, oh, it's working.
And then Snap, Crackle, Pop were the 3 guys in the commercial.
Like, I was like a young Neil deGrasse Tyson, honey. It was science happening right in front of me. And just side note, Snap, Crackle, Pop, did they like each other? I mean...
Were they a throuple?
Were they Bert and Ernie sleeping in bunk beds? And then the last one, this came up the other day in our lives, honey. But Honeycomb. Fond memories of Honeycomb.
Honeycomb is super yummy.
Yeah. For me, when I lived with Matt Furuzawa in Berkeley. But, well, it was technically Albany, but we said Berkeley because we wanted to be cool. But when I lived with Matt Furuzawa, I'm not sure who came up with this, but our place of residence we referred to as the Honeycomb Hideout.
What?
I don't know why. Alliteration is important. But the one downfall with Honeycomb, I would say, is that the pieces of cereal are quite large. So even with the big spoon, you could get 3-4 pieces on there. Like with Cheerios, you can get 15-20 Cheerios on a spoon, and it was a good time. But yeah, fond memories of Honeycomb. Our top 3 cereals, which is how this started. Greetings, Internet.
Did we do an intro?
No.
We didn't do an intro.
Oh, wow. Okay. Sorry, Grandma Tien.
Yeah. Shall I start?
Please, darling.
My number 1.
Wait, you got to start with number 3.
Oh, number 3. Oh.
Yeah. Is this your first day at radio broadcasting school? Yes.
I'm not a
number
professional.
3, please, honey.
My number 3.
Yes.
Chex.
Okay.
Specifically, rice Chex. Like the lightest colored Chex. Oh my God. Once again, when the milk softens it just a little.
Yeah.
And it like melts in your mouth.
Yeah.
It's so freaking good. And you know what else? Chex is versatile.
Yeah.
You can make Muddy Buddies.
Ah.
You can make lemon Chex.
Yeah.
You can make rainbow Chex. You can make
lemon Chex.
Savory Chex Mix.
Yeah.
Chex is the bomb.
I remember Chex. I wasn't a big fan of Chex, but they were a solid performer. I remember they had the largest box. Like if you bought a box of Chex, it was bigger than the Captain Crunch box, for instance. Because I think it was just cheaper to produce.
Probably.
Yeah. But a solid performer, but it would come with the Chex Mix. So Chex Mix, how it was when I was a kid, it came with like a little packet of seasoning. And it was just a bunch of salt, some flavored salt. And it had on the directions. By the way, remember reading cereal boxes?
Yes, absolutely. This is also tied into the childhood memories with the commercials. Yes, you'd sit around the table in your kitchen.
Yeah.
We didn't have our phones like
oh my
kids
God,
nowadays.
You weren't on the TikTok.
And cereal boxes went all in. They put so much effort into entertaining us.
Yeah, there were
we had
mazes.
Mazes, yes. Mm-hmm. We had stories.
Yeah.
We had character developments and arcs.
Wow.
It was fantastic.
It was like Marvel. I remember some boxes would divide the back of the box into 4 like here's a maze and then here's a crossword puzzle and here's some trivia.
They did not waste any space.
Yeah.
Totally.
And the thing was that we didn't have phones, so even though you read this piece of trivia 18 times already, you read it again because there's nothing else.
What were you going to do? Talk to your siblings?
Right. What are you going to do? Read the newspaper? Although I did read the sports page.
I totally did too.
With my parents.
I read the comics.
From the Sacramento Bee?
Yeah.
San Diego Union Tribune for me, and I read the sports page. So I would have something to talk about with Grandpa Curtis. Chex. Oh, but it would give you a little packet of seasonings, and it would have directions on how to make it. Essentially, it was mix this packet of salt. Really, It was really just salt with some butter in a bowl, and then throw it in the microwave for whatever. Just heat it up, and then pour it over some Chex. And it was very very low rent, low key. It wasn't great, but it was something.
I mean, Muddy Buddies are solid.
Yeah, but that takes a whole
it does.
Lot
you have to melt the butter and mix in whatever. But really good.
Yeah.
Good cereal. Okay, my number 2.
Yes.
Raisin Bran. Which is essentially Wheaties with sugar encrusted raisins mixed in.
Yes.
Do you remember the advertisement 2 scoops?
2 scoops of raisins. Yeah, the sun. The sun has arms, and then he had a couple scoops. That's so silly.
Raisin Bran is so good, but you know what? As a jaded adult, I don't buy it because it has so much sugar. Because literally their raisins are rolled in so much sugar. Mm-hmm. It's not just a raisin. It's
it's like a raisin, but then you see a bunch of white stuff in the little
that's
wrinkles.
The sugar. So much sugar. So I never buy it, but it's so delicious.
Raisin Bran, it's fine, but I would put the flakes a step below Wheaties. They're not premium brand flakes. Okay. And then raisins and milk. I mean, just say that out loud. It just sounds like nonsense. But yeah, we used to have it. Came in a purple box with the sun, which had arms with 2 scoops of raisins and Kellogg's Raisin Bran. Fun memories, but I wouldn't put it in my top 3. But all food is subjective, honey. And your number 1, darling.
My number 1. Honey Bunches of Oats.
Yes.
My gosh.
Yeah.
These are so good.
Go ahead.
When I was growing up, we would buy these in my home. And my mom always bought the almond kind.
The blue box.
Yeah. Which is really good.
Yeah.
But then as I grew up and had my own home, I would buy the yellow one.
The honey nut.
Yeah. They're both so good.
Yeah.
I prefer the Honey Nut now as an adult.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, like, this is a grown-up cereal.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it has a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
It has granola crusts.
The clusters.
That's the
clusters set it apart.
It has clusters. It has flakes. If you get the almond version, it has little, very delicate, slim almond slices.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
So yummy.
Yeah.
So satisfying.
I was alive when this cereal debuted, honey.
I remember it as well, my love.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
But I remember it, and it was like, okay, here's a new cereal. By the way, it's still out. It's still living. It's still out
poppin'.
here. Yeah. But I remember eating it, and it kind of with the flakes, and then with the clusters, and I preferred the almonds, and then with the sugar, like it like walked the fine line of like, it was adult because it was made somewhat sense health wise. Like, okay, this isn't freaking Fruit Loops, but the clusters and the sugar was like on the Fruit Loop side. So it was like it just walked the line between like adult healthy versus just yummy noshing snacks. But yeah, it's a fantastic cereal. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are we gonna? I've already added it to our Walmart.
Oh my gosh! Did you?
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah. Yeah. I put in. I got the honey version.
Okay, cool.
Because you don't like the almond version.
I mean, I like it, but I always tend to get the yellow one.
Why? Liz Fisher bought the blue almonds, and then you switched to Honey Nut.
It's too much almond.
It is a lot of almond.
Honey, what are your honorable mentions?
My number 3. Well, I rated on honorable mentions, honey.
I'm sorry.
Top 3. Number 3, Cookie Crisp. Mostly for the idea that you're eating cookies for breakfast. And it's not a cookie. It's the furthest thing from a cookie. But just the shape. And it has little chocolate chips. Like, oh, I'm eating chocolate chips for breakfast. So whenever I was an adult and I would get a couple cereals, I would always throw Cookie Crisp in there. It's a fine cereal. We went to the Cookie Crisp on the product page or whatever on Walmart.com. And so back in the day, Cookie Crisp, its whole like vibe marketing was... It was like a criminal.
Yeah, the burglar guy. And it was like, Cookie Crisp.
Yeah, and then there would be a cop chasing him around because he stole, like, he was like the cookie hamburglar or something.
Right.
But it's changed now, and I had no idea this happened. But it's like a wolf. It's some sort of animal mascot now. Mm-hmm. It's very odd. So is this part of defunding the police? Is this not Kellogg's not wanting to endorse?
They don't want to glorify a criminal.
Yeah. Who cares? It's a cereal.
It's yummy.
To be honest, what the hell did a cop and a robber have to do with breakfast cereal in the first? Who came up with that?
Right.
It's a nonsense. That's my number 3. Number 2 is Honey Nut Cheerios. And I would throw Cheerios in there. Obviously, Honey Nut is superior. But both of them, I just have classic memories of the O's and the freaking bee that would fly around.
The bee!
Yeah.
He's so lovely.
Yeah.
Both are so delicious. I'm actually partial to the original flavor.
Just the plain, the regular.
But
yeah.
They're so good.
I think they're both really good, but Honey Nut.
And what an advertising achievement for them to be like, we're heart healthy. We'll save you from having a heart attack.
Yeah.
Like, great job, guys.
You won't die. Unless you eat 80 bowls of this, which sometimes I did.
It was like the little kid in the cereal aisle with his grandpa, and he's like, Grandpa, this will save you from dying.
Yeah.
What was that advertising campaign? But you know what? It worked. It was very effective.
And now, Grandpa's dead, so where did that get you? Speaking of grandpas, Grandpa Curtis, who's somewhat of a writer, He actually wrote an entire book, honey.
Yeah. Stop it.
No.
Why haven't I ever heard of this before?
I told him to publish it. There are many websites that will...
You can self-publish stuff for sure. Where is it?
It's on a bunch of notebook paper.
Oh, it's on paper? It's not on his computer?
No.
I need to read this.
I'm guessing it's sci-fi based. Oh
my God.
He's a writer.
Okay.
And he wrote a book, and I was like, even from the beginning, I was like, get a blog and Wattpad.
Lots of people self-publish on the internet.
Stephanie Meyer, ever hear of her? Twilight, ever hear of it?
Okay.
Fanfic.
We'll have to talk about this later because we've got to help him publish this.
Yeah, I'm off. Actually, your dad just published. He got with the website and they put together a bunch of short writings.
My dad and his siblings printed out a book of their journal entries and writings.
Yeah.
But my aunt also has self-published books and released them on paperback and distributed them.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have a backing person paying money. You can just do it yourself online.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Right Night.
Right Night. That's
Right Night with the Fishers.
Uh-huh.
Do Honey Nut Cheerios.
What are we talking about?
Honey Nut Cheerios are my number 2, Cookie Crisp, and my number 3. My number 1 cereal of all time ever in history is the acronym CTC, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So flippin' good.
Top tier cereal.
We just had a box. Luna ate most of it, and gladly, I'm happy that she did. But okay, so first thing is the shape. It's small. Like I said, with honeycomb, you could get 3 pieces of honeycomb on a spoonful. And I was like, okay. But with Cinnamon Toast Crunch, super small, super thin, you could get 40 pieces of cereal on a big spoon.
Okay.
You're having a jolly old time. The seasoning seeps into the milk. So you're done with your bowl and you have some milk. It's got Cinnamon Toast Crunch nectar on there. Some goodness. Makes the milk all the more better. I mentioned earlier that I bought a bag of Lucky Charms marshmallows. And it was good. But I put Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Lucky Charms marshmallow in the same bowl. Heaven. It was the greatest thing I've ever eaten. I was like, I invented a cereal. But it's super consistent. It's so good.
You know what? Cinnamon Toast Crunch is a cereal that doesn't really get bad as it sits in the milk.
Yeah.
It's still really good when it's soggy.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's so good.
It's the bomb. It's my number 1. We just had a box of it. And yeah, it's my number 1 go-to. My number 2 is Cookie Crisp, even though it's number 3 on this idiotic list. Who wrote this? But number 1, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, because it's so flipping good. Now, they've made different products from the Cinnamon Toast Crunch brand or line. They have a spread, which is like a soft cookie butter thing. There's the I want to call it dust, but it's the shake.
Yeah, it's like you can buy these. You can buy this seasoning. It's like a cinnamon sugar combination in a seasoning bottle.
Yeah. As far as the spread, I've had cookie butter. It's just too sweet. I imagine it's very much like that. Mm-hmm. I'm not here for that. The dust, it could be good because you make Lennox cinnamon toast once in a while, right?
This is classic. You put toast with butter and then cinnamon and sugar mixture over it.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is.
It's like a toast churro.
Right. Yes.
But, might try the dust sprinkle, whatever it's called. I'm not sure the exact, but the spread I could do without. But what about their Cinnamon Toast Crunches put out many products, offshoots from the Cinnamon Toast Crunch brand. There's Dulce de leche toast crunch. There's chocolate toast crunch. There's fresh French toast crunch. There's cinnamon toast crunch churros. What is your opinion on this, honey?
I'm not here for any of this.
Yeah.
I love the classic cinnamon toast crunch.
It's so good.
And I have no interest in any of these offshoots, but I have to admit, are you not aware, we currently have in our cupboard a cinnamon toast crunch cake mix and frosting.
Yes.
Are you aware of that?
Yes. When are you going to make it happen, lover?
As far as cereal goes, I'm just here for the original.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bought the chocolate churro cinnamon toast crunch. It was not good.
No.
It was there was no chocolate going on, and it was like you just wanted cinnamon toast crunch, and I don't want to try all 5 and be like, oh, this French toast, this dulce de. I just stick with the classics, stick with the consistent. Alrighty, well, are we done, honey?
I'd say so.
Alrighty, well, that's the end of the program. It's been fun, but not really. Let's all try a little harder next time. Like, comment, subscribe, follow, review, and rate, or don't. Do whatever you want. You're a grown-up. Make your own decisions. Do what's best for your family. Please be sure to use our promo code for karma. We don't have a promo code for karma. Goodbye, my podcast friends. I love you. My wife and I love you. We hope you have a good day today and tomorrow. And sure, I may have jeopardized my chances at ever working at a broadcast radio station in Sacramento, California ever again. But I'm still a good person, and we're still good people. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. I hope you have a wonderful day/night. Oh, thank you for caring. Bye-bye.
And oop.
We got chicken.
Is that crispy, juicy tender? I can't eat no longer.